Merry meet. It's Rowan Ravenwolf with my special guest, Classy Cassie. So this week we have a magical question and last week Classy Cassie had brought up gambling with tarot. So, well, not gambling with tarot, but questions related to, it would like, can we play poker with tarot? We probably could, right? So,
Sure.
I mean, you actually could, as long as you understand which
It's
symbol corresponds with
descended
which playing
from
card.
playing cards.
Yeah. So, but we're going
And
to jump into the first question. So I was emailed a question, how to deal with Mercury in retrograde. And it's a great question because we'll be in Mercury in retrograde. Actually, I believe, let's see, next Sunday, I'm just going to look real quick. Yes, next Sunday is actually the first day of Mercury in retrograde. So next time we come on, it's already going to be Mercury in retrograde. So so good question ahead of time with Mercury in retrograde coming up. So it is on August 4th and it will go to August 27th. I sometimes will not look and then I'll be like, why is shit just hitting the fan? And then it's like, oh, it's Mercury in retrograde. Well, at least it's been now I try to pay attention so I can be prepared ahead of time.
mhm.
So I think one of the most important things is communication when we're dealing with Mercury in retrograde. And this is some of these techniques are things that we should probably do all the time, not just Mercury in retrograde. But our emotions tend to run a little bit higher in Mercury in retrograde because everything around us can potentially be in chaos, or it might seem like chaos is ascending. So
Or
actively listen.
it seems to me like it might be just a lot of triggering events.
Sometimes, I mean, well, I just call it chaos because it manifests differently for different
Mhm.
people and it manifests differently with what the universe does
Yeah, I
globally.
mean, it can be you're needing car repairs or losing your cell phone. There's an infinite number of ways it could manifest.
Yes. So we're jump back in. I think the most important thing to think about when we're dealing with Mercury in retrograde is communication. Communication is key. It's very important. And the most important thing because you can't change anybody else, is active listening. So active listening is the first thing. So listen to everything that is said. And then you want to focus. You want to focus on the conversation fully. So that's going to be a big thing. And avoid interrupting people. And I have noticed like people tend to interrupt a lot more during Mercury in retrograde. I know the last place I worked, I usually was dead quiet because the woman interrupted all the time, but there was a woman I worked with who would interrupt everybody's conversations, but she was like, if you can be worse, yes. Yep. Yeah, she would not listen. So, and then when you're ready, take a deep breath and say what you need to say so that because you do need to be heard. But just take that deep breath, take, 3 seconds to think about it, like 1, 2, 3. Like this is the time my husband will sometimes not active listen to me and he'll interrupt me occasionally. And I usually jump down his throat and say, was I finished? so, so I'll be nice and not say, was I finished? I'll give him 3 seconds and say, I really appreciate your interruption. But that is one of the things that you do want to make sure of. And our emotions will be very high, especially because we're in Leo. Leo is very passionate, so we're going to have like a lot of passion coming out. So we do need to watch. So we're going to have new moon in Leo to start out Mercury in retrograde. Literally the day after is new moon in Leo. So we're going to have a lot of that passion and energy. And then we're going to be moving in. So we just want to really be careful when it comes to communication. The next most important thing I would say is self-care. It's so important to give yourself self-care. So if it means just soaking in a hot tub or my personal favorite, laying on the grass, staring at the clouds. I mean, I love doing that.
Hugging a tree.
Yeah. and anything for self-care. Set aside time for yourself, especially if you're spending a ton of time taking care of somebody or like walking a pet.
Or
Um,
being on the computer,
yeah,
creating social media content.
yeah. And unless you're taking a class, I mean, like sometimes I take classes from other people in the occult community myself. I teach, but I also take. And see, for me, that's self-care to be able to like take a class from somebody inspiring. So, but do something for yourself, not for your kids, not for your grandkids, not for your fur babies, not for your feather babies. You want it.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about all those concerns. Lucky me, since I moved out of the state where I was raised and spent most of my life, I kind of left that all behind in
Yeah, but you have fur
Illinois.
babies.
Oh, well, I did bring my fur babies with me.
Yeah. But your fur babies need attention. So you do need to give yourself self-care.
That's true. Sometimes Buddy is like pawing at my leg for no reason when I'm trying to work on the computer. And it's like, cut it out, Buddy.
Yeah. So self-care. And then I think the most important thing is do not make big decisions now. So don't go buy a house, don't go buy a car, like big
That's really
financial
good
decisions.
advice.
Don't do it during Mercury in retrograde. You know what? If you want to think about it, put it on a piece of paper and put it on your calendar to talk about on the 28th of August. So push it back. And it's okay. It's just a couple weeks. It's not going to kill you to put that off to the side. Don't sign important legal contracts or documents. Get those done before Mercury in retrograde. Um, that's really important.
Don't buy a car until the Labor Day weekend sales.
So those are just a couple little tips. My favorite crystals for Mercury in retrograde are actually shungite, black obsidian, and black tourmaline. I know some people are like, oh, but they're black crystals. I've had people say that because, yeah, they're not like, honestly, they are going to help prevent any of that negative energy coming. And if you don't like the black, you can go with hematite. Keep in mind,
I
you
was
want to
just going to
cleanse
say
your
that.
hematite. You need to cleanse it a lot during Mercury in retrograde because it's going to burst.
Oh, thank you. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
The priestess that taught me, her favorite grounding stone was hematite, and she had a lot of it.
Yeah, and it breaks. I mean, my stressed out son bought a hematite ring and it was like 2 hours and it just busted. And I was like, yeah, I knew there was stuff going on. So, because it gathers everything, it just gathers it and then breaks. I like to put it back into the earth when it does that, because it's done its
Good
job.
idea.
I don't work with it as much just because of the fact, like, there was a point in my life, especially when I was in my cult, that they just it didn't like me, because it was sucking so much negative energy and I always felt so bad. And so I'm like, I'll give you guys a little break. But the nice thing is you can just take it and you can cleanse it, run it through some incense smoke. I have incense going here, but you can't see the smoke. Um, Run it through your incense smoke. You can anoint it with, like frankincense essential oil, sage essential oil, juniper, a mixture of juniper and frankincense would be really lovely. So that will help cleanse it and get that negative energy out of it because it'll suck it up during Mercury in retrograde. A lot of people don't realize they put off negative energy and that energy is just, it's like going to fill the earth. And so we have to do what we can to make sure we protect ourselves. I don't know.
That's
Anything else you want to
really good
add?
advice. Actually, I'm going to defer to you because you have studied this much more than I have, crystals and flower essences, and that's where you have the expertise, and which is why I highly recommend Triple Goddess Reiki Etsy store with all your wonderful products.
Thank you. Which I actually posted a bunch of new crystals today. Ironically enough, most of it is shungite. So I was very, very, very excited to get the shungite pieces that I got. So, and it's hard not to want to keep every crystal, but no, I do sell them to other people. My husband sometimes doesn't think I do. So that was it for Mercury in retrograde, but let's jump to the next thing you had brought up last week. So I've honestly never had anybody come to me and ask about gambling. I've had people ask about prosperity spells or prosperity. Are they going to get prosperity? Are they going to get raises? That kind of thing. So I'm going to actually defer to you because I can't even jump into is it a good day to gamble or not? Since no, I mean, I know how to do the tarot, I know how to read it, but you've had more people ask you, is today a good day to gamble? So go ahead, take it over. Classy Cassie.
Well, it's not necessarily that people have asked me that more, but I've been doing tarot for 30 years and I did have some periods in my life where I was desperate for money and was looking at the cards every day and trying to figure out what to do. And sometimes I was asking, is today the day to go to the boat, because that's where the casinos are in Illinois. They're on those river boats. And so I'm a Leo. And so my sign and my particular astrology kind of makes me an addictive personality. So I could get addicted to gambling very easily. And a lot of people are addicted very sadly to gambling. And because it's an addiction, it's a lower level vibration. See, that's why you're not getting people asking you about that because you're not getting clients who are stuck in that lower level vibration of a gambling addiction and are desperate for some psychic reader to tell them what the lucky day is or the lucky number is or the lucky machine is.
Yep, that's
Okay.
probably right. I just get cult survivors.
However, it's nice to know because those of us who are a little bit above average psychic, because we do have higher level discernment, sometimes the universe wants to reward us and it'll give us clues, today's the day, follow your gut. If you walk into the casino today, you'll be guided to the right machine. My experience was that, you get in and you get out as quick as you can. As soon as, like I went in, what was it? I went to the casino with my mother and my sister for my birthday, and we had lunch there because they had a buffet. And then my mother was like, well, do you want to go gambling? I'll give you $20. See if you win something. So it was like, okay. And my sister and I kind of walked in there and looked around. And guess what attracted my eye, Raven? It was a slot machine that had a picture of Stonehenge on it. So,
And
you're looking for some kind of clue, right? And so I threw the $20 in that machine, and within less than 5 minutes, I turned 20 bucks into 76 bucks. And as soon as I won that, I quit. I'm done. And I've kind the longer you stay there, the higher the odds are that you're going to lose it back to the house. So that's the discernment, is knowing when had your win, and instead of trying to get a bigger win and continuing to spend, it's time to, cut your losses and get out. And because when you're desperate, I remember trying to take $200 and turn it into $600 at the casino, and all I did was lose $200. And it was because I fooled myself. I did a 3 card spread, and 2 of the cards were good, but one of the cards was very bad. But I talked myself out of it.
the
You
tarot's
know what
always
card I
right.
got?
Oh, yeah, whenever I get that, I try to stay in the house. Which
Or
actually one of my daily readings recently was the Ten of Swords, but
if you go to the boat, you'll be sorry.
yeah.
Or You know, you're gonna lose all your money. Okay. However, a good portent would be the Wheel of Fortune.
Yep. So before we went on, we decided to pull cards, and I did pull the Wheel of Fortune as one.
Yes, we decided to each go through our decks because we actually I hadn't thought about this too much since I proposed it a week ago. I just knew it was a subject that I had, put some attention on in the past. So we each went through a deck of tarot cards and pulled out cards that, well, I kind of was like, okay, what are lucky cards? Good money cards, good gambling cards, and what are unlucky ones? Or, because sometimes the cards that you don't get are as important as the cards that you do get. For instance, if you don't get, let's see, if you don't get the victory card, pay attention. And if we're thinking about the major arcana, who do you think, which major arcana card do you think it would be considered the gambler?
I wouldn't call it the Fool because he's too innocent.
I would,
Would you? Okay. See, I think he's, well,
because
I
he
mean,
could
I
be
guess,
spontaneous and reckless.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because otherwise, what other, the devil could be considered the gambler
Yeah, the devil.
because it's temptation and
Mhm.
materialism. And then, of course, the major arcana card, I think that is, well, you know what? You can also see the magician as the gambler. He's got all the tools on the table there. He's a gamer. He does magic. So we could look at that too, if
Yeah,
the
because he can
magician
make money
shows up.
disappear and appear.
Yeah, and if the
And if he
fool
was
shows
reversed, I
up,
wouldn't go. Granted,
say
I
that
last
again.
time I said if it was reversed, I wouldn't go. And yeah, we went to Vegas in 2019 and I just was like, because I lived in Vegas and I was just like, yeah, now I see why I didn't come back. It just didn't appeal. It's too much. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a bunch of spendable income and I wanted to take $500 or $1,000 and spend an afternoon in a casino, and I
Mhm.
had that kind of spendable income, go ahead.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you win or lose, right? It's just the amount of money that you decided that you were going to have fun with today, like going on vacation.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's see. Now, of course, if we get cards out of the suit of pentacles,
Mhm.
the king or the queen of pentacles, this is the money king and the money queen. And of course, the 10 is known as the health and the wealth card.
Yep.
So this can be a winner. Also the 9 of pentacles
Yep.
with
I
the
did pull
woman.
my 9 out.
There you go. Yeah, which deck are you using?
This is the golden art.
Oh, that
I
is.
love this deck. It's one of my go-tos. So, I
You
have
know
quite a
what?
few go-to decks, but yeah, when I do readings, it's one of the decks that I usually do readings with.
I tried to get one and I didn't know any better, and I got a cheap knockoff in a tin. And
Yeah,
so
it's
it's like,
unfortunate. I know I've said it quite a few times, but it's like that. I mean, it's always kind of been a thing that there's been companies plagiarizing decks and books, and it's getting really bad, actually. There's just a lot of big companies that are plagiarizing occult books and tarot, Lenormand, and Oracle decks, any of our cartomancy decks. And it's really hard, especially for small businesses, because sometimes you think you've got like a really good wholesaler and they're picking them up from some of these places that aren't authentic. So you do want to make sure that but it is happening
Yeah,
a
we've
lot.
talked about this before, and I think if you haven't, maybe you need to do a short little video
I
on how to
actually
recognize it.
have because
Okay, I thought you
I've
had.
actually I've done a few. I know for sure there's at least one on YouTube. I know my
I either
Patreon group has
watched
gotten
it
a
or we
lot.
talked about it. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
So I've done quite a few because I was teaching a tarot class and one of the students kept telling everybody to go get their decks from a very popular company that's out of China. And I'm like trying to tell her to stop. First, so two things I'm going to bring up with this. So, number one, when you're taking a class from somebody, be courteous. And if you want to recommend a place, ask the teacher if it's okay first. Because a lot of times, like with me, I have a couple teachers that will say, hey, this person sells authentic crystals. This person sells authentic this. Especially, and a lot of teachers have an Etsy shop where their creations are. Like I actually do carry tarot cards that I get from the publisher. Okay. So I do get them from US Gameworks. I get them from Wiser. I get them from Red Feather. I get them from straight from the publisher. So that's the first thing is definitely when you're in a class, be respectful and ask your teacher if it's okay to recommend a place to go. That's just common decency and respect. But number two, is it reputable? So this particular person was throwing out there, go to this, go to this, go to this. And I actually personally know somebody who has a lawsuit against that company and the company they were named after. So it was a name and they changed their name because they had so many copyright lawsuits. And this particular friend who has
Oh,
beautiful
such
products.
integrity.
Yeah. She's been scammed now by both of the companies. So it's very, very sad. And when you purchase from these companies, a lot of times people don't know it's plagiarized. You look at the price and go, oh, I can get this for $4.95. If I go to the occult bookstore, it's $21.95. Guess what? The box says $21.95. That's the cost. And when you don't purchase it from an occult bookstore or from, like Llewellyn or Wiser or US Gameworks, the creator of the deck or the author of the book, they're not getting
It's
any.
getting ripped off.
They're being ripped off. This is a lot of times their livelihood. So you're actually not supporting anybody in the community when you do this. So
Well, you know what? Let's get back on topic, and instead of talking
yes,
about
we
being
get
ripped off,
derailed very
how do we
easily.
win? How do we win big? How do we know when the universe is trying to give us a message that it's a good day to maybe buy a lotto ticket? Okay, you know what? I picked minor cards from each of the four suits that can clue you in that it's a good day. Okay, like the Ace of Pentacles. It's like, come on.
That one's
I'm
a good
trying
one.
to,
Yep.
my get my webcam to focus
Focus.
in. Come on. Okay, and then wands. We already looked at the Six of Wands, the victory card, playing a victorious role, but also the Six of Swords, being road to safety, getting off the boat before you lose.
It's like one of the only good sword cards. Okay, it depends on the reading, but that is like one of the best cards in the swords.
And then cups, of course, the 10 of cups, great inner
Yep.
and outer happiness. But the three of cups could apply, going with one or two friends and, having a good time kind of thing. And sometimes that's putting your energy together, because the more energy you put together behind an intention, the more oomph you have when sending it out into the universe. Okay, and then major cards. All right, of course, the sun, that's a major card of success. And the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, even the Charioteer, like good positive change rather than the Tower.
So, inside joke before we went on, I came to the Tower card. I'm like, this is a great card. Not for Kim. It's good because it tells you there's going to be change.
That's true. And you know what? The Tower card is also a liberation card
Yep.
because sometimes, we all do this. We have these self-imposed boundaries and limitations and fences that we put up to protect ourselves. But
Yeah.
after a while, instead of protecting us, they wind up imprisoning us. And so the Tower comes along to break you out of your self-imposed prison. It might not seem that way at the time because usually a Tower event, the two words most associated with it are catastrophe and uh, it's another one with a C,
Are you thinking
cataclysm,
chaos?
cataclysm and catastrophe.
Yeah. And when you're in, and a lot of times, sometimes when that Tower card pops up and things change, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. And when
Yeah,
you're in the height of the worst, a lot of times you can't see the beautiful that's going to be on the other side. And I'm
that's
actually saying that
hindsight.
from experience.
Yeah, we're both old enough to have had that experience, and probably more than once. Let's see. I'm trying. Let's see. Oh, let's see. A good pair to get together for would be the Wheel of Fortune and the Ten of Pentacles, with either the Nine of Pentacles or the Ten of Cups. Like this is a big, trifecta winner. The three tens, Ten of Cups, Ten of Pentacles, and the Wheel of Fortune. That's trying to tell you something. It's all about correspondences and noticing the patterns when you're reading the tarot.
Yep. So if you do want to know, grab your own deck. If you do want to know before you go gamble, or if you want to buy a lotto card, if
Check
it's your
it
day,
out. See how
um,
accurate you are.
you can always get a reading from either of us. So if you would prefer it that way. So, but you can, there's lots of options available. You can use other forms of cardomancy to figure it out. With gambling, I can't, a lot of my decks are very specialized to specific intentions, like just the deck itself. So, but there are decks out there that you can use. Like the Nova deck would be a good deck to use if you wanted to know, because
Yeah, yeah,
there's actually a
tarot might
gambler
not
in the Nova
be the
deck.
best deck.
Yeah, Nova would be the best deck. Nova is out of it did reprint in 2009. So it was out of print. It's a great deck to work with. I actually recommend it to a lot of my students. So you can usually find the original or a reprint. Um,
Somewhere.
yeah, that's one plus about the internet is you can usually find a lot of that great stuff. So that makes it fun.
Yeah, I got a Nova deck at a store when it was still in print. And I remember the first time that I used it, I was kind of shocked at how accurate it was. I always remembered that. That's when and so I started to use it in conjunction with my tarot cards. And eventually I kind of wore that deck out. So I was kind of happy to find another one on eBay after it was out of print to supplement.
The new one, yeah. So yeah, so it's great. Mine is a reprint from 2009. And there are a lot of wonderful things out there that aren't in print anymore. I'm thinking of Melody's Crystal Book. I was actually looking at it earlier this
Oh
morning when I was doing
no.
something.
Well, I have my copy.
Yeah, and it is hard to find. I know, like, I mean, it's been out of print for a couple decades. She actually passed away.
Well, of
Um,
course, that must be why.
so yeah. Yeah, no one carried over the copyright or reprinted it. And no, there's not pictures, but her descriptions are phenomenal. It's kind of a must-have, but yeah, don't be surprised.
She
You
must
might
have
have to pay.
channeled that info. I don't know how else
Mhm.
she got all of that information.
You know,
And it was
there's
so obscure.
yeah.
back in the 70s, the 60s when she published that book.
Yeah, well, her and Judy Hall really like brought out a lot with the crystals. So, um,
People wanted
we
to
can
know.
look at them as our crystal mamas. So, but this was it for today. So, hope everybody enjoyed. If you have a question that you're just dying to ask us, please, you can email it to us or put it in the comments. I do check all of my social media to see if there's any questions. And next week we'll be back with you, answering whatever question you might have. Any last thoughts, Classy Cassie?
Well, I just want to mention that the month of August is my birth month. And so I guess I'm going to be having my birthday during Mercury retrograde. But something that I do annually is I have a birthday reading special. I'll give you $10 off on a reading, and all you have to do when you book it is say, "Happy birthday, Classy Cassie," or "Happy birthday, Cassandra." And you have earned your $10 off, you've earned your birthday special reading.
There we go. All right. Well, as always, have a blessed rest of your day. Blessed be and namaste.
Bright blessings all.